Yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. It's time for some good news. Some good news that I think is well overdue. A lot of people have even gone as far as to say these days I'm fear mongering simply because there really hasn't been a lot of positivity going on in the country when it comes to our politics. We've seen scandal after scandal. We see Canadians grasping to try and get a grip on their bank accounts as well as their lifestyles in order to just continue paying their bills. But there is a little bit of silver lining going on in the country and a little bit of a dawn breaking through the darkness, so to speak, when it comes to municipalities, especially, and how government is making change. Now, I want to touch on something today because I've always had an issue when it comes to municipalities. They're the policies that commonly affect your life the most out of all politics. When you talk about provincial, federal, or municipal, municipalities are the ones that essentially create your bylaws. They charge you your services. They decide your tax rates. They do a lot to implement your day-to-day life in terms of how it affects you, aside from things like a carbon tax. Some cities do it better than others. But one that's showing a little bit of hope today that I want to touch down on is the city of Colona in British Columbia. Hats off. I know I've got viewers from Colona, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous town. Um, their city council sitting down and doing what most city councils do, voting in their own raises. And it sounds like Kelowna had a significant vote for a raise increase. I don't believe, and this is something that I've campaigned against to run for mayor's chair in Calgary, is that city council should not be able to decide when they're going to give themselves a raise. I don't think any government should be allowed to decide when they get a pay increase. People right now are working in industries where they're not getting any kind of bump to match inflation, to match the spending issues that we're having in this city. Well, in Kelowna, one of the councillors has turned down that raise. Seems they're working on a little bit of border of common sense. Only one Kelowna city councillor chose not to accept the controversial 35% pay hike voted in last month. City Clerk Laura Bentley said Tuesday that Ron Canon chose not to receive the pay increase that would have raised his salary from $43,000 to $58,000. Councillors have until the end of Tuesday to opt out. This is refreshing to see, but also at the same time, a little concerning. $43,000 a year to be a city councillor, even in Kelowna. I don't understand how people manage to pay their bills. Maybe Kelowna isn't as expensive as I thought it once was. I don't know. I've been told it's very expensive to live in that town. But again, it's very commendable when you see somebody turning down roughly $15,000 in pay increase. It is $15,000. I believe citizens elected me to provide my viewpoint from over 40 years of business and political experience, Canon said in an email. When I ran for council in 2022, I didn't run based on the salary. I wanted to use my experience and knowledge to address important issues and provide positive leadership in our community. When was the last time you heard anybody in politics talk like this? This is exactly what I've said in my mayoral address. I'm not doing this for the paycheck. I'm not doing it for my hubris. This is simply because citizens need leadership. They need a better system that works for them and not one that works for themselves, so to speak. Cannon went on to say he'd heard from many Kelowna residents who are facing hard times financially as a result of the high interest rates and inflationary pressures. Property taxes also continue to increase higher than inflation, Cannon said. I think most folks would like to be in a position to give themselves a 35% wage increase. However, council is not self employed. This is taxpayers' hard earned money. Again, very based. I like what this guy says. In fact, I've sent out an email to him. I'm hoping he'll come on the channel and talk a little bit more further about this. I think this is refreshing. I think it's some good news for everybody that there's still a little bit of good out there, especially in Canadian politics. And to hear somebody talk about this, can you imagine any job where you go in and get a 35% wage increase? I know we're talking about $15,000 annually for this gentleman, but I know for my wife, who's worked 20 plus years in oil and gas, they often, if they see a raise, it's like 2%. It's not the company doesn't come in and say, "Hey, you know what? We decided inflation's high, affordability's high, or affordability's low, so we're just going to raise you guys 30%." It doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. Only these pigs at a trough who manage taxpayer money who feel this sense of entitlement to it for some reason that say, "Well, I work in government. Why shouldn't I get a little bit more money?" Kind of like if you ever watch Lord of the Rings, it's kind of like Bilbo with that ring saying, "Why shouldn't the power be mine? I deserve it." Right? Like it's so refreshing to see this nonetheless. Canon pointed out that counselors received a 4.17% salary increase just a few months ago. Again, that makes it very alarming that they're voting for another 30%. That's roughly a 40% increase over a couple months. So when the option for more money came along, he thought it was important to lead by example by showing some fiscal restraint. That's something you'll never see in any other city council. He added that he thought the new salary should come into effect after the next election, which is the tradition for many councils. While Councilman Gord Lovegrove, Council Rick Weber, and Council Mohini Singh voiced opposition to the hike, they didn't walk away from the extra money. And that again is commonly what you see is they'll raise a stink to try and secure their votes in the next election, but they'll still take the money. They don't turn it down. They don't say, "Hey, I'm not going to do what the city is saying. I'm not going to take that money." This is admirable what Canon has done. He was not only against a council raise, he also disagreed with council approving the 4.7% tax increase. He said that he doesn't support growing government at twice the rate. Sorry, did I misread that? Is that a 4.7? No, they took a 4.17 increase. I'm sorry, I saw 4.7 again. So they raised their taxes 4.7%. Sorry, guys, I get a little dyslexic when reading. I just want to make sure we got our facts straight. He said he doesn't support growing a government that at twice the rate of the city's growth. "I don't support raising taxes higher than the cost of living, especially considering how many residents in our country are hurting and struggling with interest rates at near 23-year highs," Canon said earlier. When the issue was first raised in council, Canon voted in favor of the pay raise. Had he voted against it at the time when Council Woodridge was absent, it would not have been passed. He changed his vote as the issue was brought back. So again, people can change their minds. People can look at, where they're at. They could get feedback from their constituents. But what's ultimately happened here is a change of heart and a councilman understanding economics and really looking at what am I getting versus what the average citizen is making. And this is where, again, God, my words are all over the place today. I'm so sorry. What I'm happy to see here, what you don't see in civic politics, is anybody realizing that 35% for anybody, and even though we're talking about a $50,000 a year salary, which is considerably low by today's standards. So a little bit of devil's advocacy here. You're still a public servant. This is still taxpayer money. And in a town the size of Colona, if they're not bringing in the revenue of a major city, they have to be prudent with what they're taking. And they have to understand that what they're volunteering to take on these jobs as councilmen is essentially to make things better for their residents. They're there as a civil servant. They're there to make change, not put change in their pockets. A little pun for you. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are you happy to see some good stuff happening around here? Props up again to British Columbia, of all places, especially in Colona, for doing this, for having a councilman speak out like this. Again, I hope to get him on the channel. It would be great to sit down and talk with him. Again, fun to have a little bit more positive news here on the channel for a change. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't like to fearmonger. I will bring up positivity when we do see it. I think it's important. I think we all need a little bit of positivity in our lives as we move forward, especially while our government is dismantling our country. And I'll try to do the best I can to bring that forward to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure to click the subscribe button, turn on your bell for notifications. Join us live here on the channel every Friday, except for this Friday, of course, because it's a long weekend. I'm actually out of town at the time you're watching this video, so I will not be able to conduct my live stream. But every Friday after this Friday, we will be doing Friday Night Fringe here on the channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, where we go over things like this as well as other things in politics and have a little bit of back and forth within our community. It's always great to see you guys. I look forward to hearing everything you have to say outside of making these videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.